Okay, thank you. We're going to call this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment to order. This is our, I guess, pre-COVID configuration where we are live here at Council Chambers. And there will be a broadcast on YouTube for those who can't join us. First, we begin this gathering by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Acknowledging this reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of the Indigenous people. So welcome to this hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of St. Catharines. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. There are two major types of applications to this committee. One being applications for consent and severance. Two, applications for minor variances to municipal zoning bylaw requirements. Evidence may be required to be given under oath if deemed necessary. Please address your comments and questions through the chair. That is me this evening. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant and any other person who appeared before the committee or filed a written request to receive a notice of decision. Pursuant to the More Homes Built Faster Act and in the matter of consent applications, the applicant, the minister, or a specified person or public body that has an interest in the matter has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of the consent to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the mailing of the decision. Minor variance applications decisions may also be appealed. However, they must be made within 20 days of the making of the decision, and the cost of an appeal is $400. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Does it have to be appointed?
Right. Looking at my other agenda. Oh yeah, Elaine. Elaine's back, everybody. We have for our consideration, to consider the appointment of Elaine Monroe as Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment. Do we have any discussion among the committee whether this is a good choice, or would someone like to propose a motion? Would someone like to propose a motion?
I propose that we accept, if that's the proper word, the appointment of Elaine to the position of Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment.
Oh, we're not
Welcome
accepting
back.
it. We are appointing. So
Welcome
we are
back.
proposing. Okay, great. All those in favor of the appointment of Elaine Monroe, Secretary Treasurer, show of hands. Great. That's been carried unanimously. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Or additions to the agenda? Are there any?
Just a small amendment that the request for a deferral, it was submitted by the agent and not the owner of 1571, 5099 Pelham. Otherwise, there are no other changes to the agenda.
That is small. Thank you. Declaration. There's actually more words in this. Does any member of the panel have a conflict of interest in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing or the previous hearing if they were not in attendance? I do not. I'm seeing no one saying that they do, so there are no conflicts of interest. Thank you so much. Request for withdrawal or adjournment.
There is one request for 1571 and 1599 Pelham Road. The deferral was from December 6th was deferred till today, and I'm trying to see, Victoria, you can come up here, Victoria, has requested an additional 3-month deferral pending receipt of the NEC, the Niagara Escarpment permit.
There.
Yeah, right in front, right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So if once the permit comes in, then within 3 months, Victoria's asking that she return.
Okay. Thank you. Any other? I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Anything you wish to add?
No, that was perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the committee? Otherwise, a motion, please, for the deferral for up to 3 months.
I move that application B3423SC be deferred for 3 months, awaiting the NEC decision.
Okay, all those in favor of? Do we have to, yeah. Yeah. All those in favor of the motion for deferral? Great. We'll see you in 3 months. Or sooner, you know. The minutes of the hearing held December 6, 2023. Is someone prepared to read in a motion to adopt those? Jamal, thank you. The show of hand was suitable. Thank you. So that brings us to our slate of applications for this hearing, starting with 10 Almond Street. 10 Almond Street, so we have the applicant and/or agent come to my left side of the horseshoe. Don't be shy. Well, you're not shy. So we have an application to permit an existing one-story addition to a rear existing townhouse dwelling. We have a technical report from city staff which recommends approval. And the variances are with respect to maximum encroachment of eaves and gutters into an interior side yard on the west, and minimum interior side yard setback on the west to the dwelling. Is there anything that the agent wishes to add to this application?
Mr. Chair.
Excellent. Never wanted to turn down a great PowerPoint, but no, if we have the choice, we can always come back to it if needed, if things get tough. Any questions of the members of the committee to the agent? Things are looking pretty good. Anyone wish to make a motion regarding the application? Public. Hello, public. Before me, before us. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak to this application, as was whispered into my ear? No? Okay. Now we don't. Anybody, yes, David, please.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentation, I move that variance application A12723, as presented in the notice of hearing, be approved, as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Excellent. If there's no further discussion regarding the motion, all those in favor of the motion to approve? Great, that motion's been unanimously supported. Thank you. I'm going to, so we're now moving over to, I can close this now. So I'm continuing with my paperless meeting thing. So 37 Arthur Street is the second item on our agenda. And at 37 Arthur Street, we have some exciting severance action with a couple of minor variances thrown in there. And this is with respect to, where am I? To facilitate the construction of a single-family detached dwelling. We were approved in 2021. Minor variance applications were approved for all 3 lots to recognize new site conditions to existing dwelling and to further facilitate the construction of new detached dwelling. So this proposal is to, I'm lost, hold on, I'm coming around, is to sever a 250 square meter parcel of land, part 1, to be known as 37A Arthur Street, is to be severed from an established lot for the purpose of a semi-detached dwelling unit with an interior accessory dwelling unit And the remnant parcel, Part 2, will be retained for the proposed semi-detached dwelling unit and an interior accessory dwelling unit. So there's a severance and the minor variances associated with it. And with respect to the staff report that we have received, there is approval of the severance with a number of conditions, 6 to be exact. And there are these variances have approvals as well as some withdrawals, which we will get to after we talk about the severance and invite the applicant to come to speak to this application. So that would be Dylan. Oh, come on, one more step.
Hello. Through the chair, hello committee, good evening. My name is Dylan Earl. I am the agent for this application for severance and minor variances. I do have a small presentation that I would like to just provide some clarity. There is some history, which was previous severances. That was all finalized. So today we're focusing on the 37 Arthur. So I'll go through it starting with what's there today. So the subject property, as seen here, we have 39 to the north to the right. Then we have 35 to the south to the left. And ours is the vacant lot in the center. So the next, so it's currently vacant land, 75-foot frontage, 23 meters, the depth, you can see on the screen, the current official plan, current zoning, as per the planning recommendation report, captures all the technicalities and alignment with our proposal with those mechanisms. Another view here provides the surrounding area as we like to consider the character and fabric of what we're providing. There's various housing types to the north near Wilver and Wildwood, mix of semi-detached, et ceteras. I've provided just some Niagara Navigator streetscape front setbacks just to give a better idea of the fabric, the streetscape, and how we fit in. This here is a image that sometimes moves, but it's just basically the Google Street View to show that on our street immediately adjacent to us, to the left and right, north and south, it's a mix of semi-detached, single detached, single story, 2-story, and that we would fit in appropriately. The next slide. So the proposal to sever into 2 lots, as shown here, for the creation of 2 semi-detached units with interior accessory dwelling units. And here it is kind of superimposed on an aerial, just to give a better idea. Yep, you can continue. We focused on the massing and the character. So from the front, it doesn't look like a semi-detached. We have a single garage on the left, single entry on the left. The entryway to the right is hidden, to blend in with that streetscape for adjacent neighbors. So part 1 and part 2 have been configured to fit in nicely. That's a floor plan just showing the entryways and just the aesthetic of it. And then next, so the minor variances, I won't go into too much detail, but as per the planning recommendation report, there was 4 that I applied for on part 2. The first one was the lot area. We need that reduction just for the configuration of the site. It is irregular, so to fit the house in with proper setbacks and rear yard setback, et cetera, we found this to be the best fit. Actually, can we go back to that one? Just to clarify, that third one is the one that we withdrew because there's no garage on the right-hand side. That was a mistake. And then the number 4, you'll see a 0 meter proposed. That's because it's a semi, and the porch is, well, it's right there beside each other because it's a semi, just the nature of the construction. And then the next slide. So minor variance part 1. Again, this pertains to lot area. The lot frontage has a reduction from 12 to 8.2 meters. Again, just with the angles of the site, we found this configuration to be the most appropriate. along with the front yard setbacks into the garage. There's that second withdrawal for the total lot coverage. Because it's a semi, it doesn't apply. And then again, the 0 meters for the interior side yard setback, just the nature of construction for semi-detached units. In conclusion, along with the planning recommendation report, conforms with planning policies, intended land use, fits in with the streetscape, helps meet intensification targets, and the proposed and retained lots optimize appropriate infill development. And next slide. And that is everything in summary. Thank you. So happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks so much. Any questions from the committee to the presenter? Anybody in the gallery wish to speak to this application? Please come to the head of the horseshoe. You stay there. Yep. There's a little sign there indicating a chair you can get comfortable in, and there's a button that'll operate your microphone. If you could please state your name and address and share with us your comments.
Thank you for allowing me to speak to you. I live in that area, in that neighborhood, and I sent an email to the Secretary Treasurer. I was just wondering, first of all, has that been read? Yeah.
We receive a package, a nicely compiled package from the Secretary Treasurer, which includes the staff report and all written comments that were received, yes.
Okay, great. And then the next question I have is, has the committee members ever driven past that proposed area?
As part of our mandate is to familiarize ourselves with the application by reviewing the site, yes.
Okay, then, like I have talked to a number of people, one being my city councilor, and she said that she couldn't be here to voice our opinions because there's something called an integrity commission, and she's been put on notice for that. And I find that to be rather disturbing personally because she's our voice. And she should be able to voice our opinions here as a result.
I'm going to attempt to answer that, and then someone can fill in what I get wrong or muddle. So the Committee of Adjustment, we, the volunteer citizens of St. Catharines who have been appointed to this task, are a committee of council. So in layperson's terms, your city council, including your councilor, voted to have us participate in this forum to work on in their interest without them having to be directly involved. So as a result of that and the integrity commissioner business, we are acting on behalf of council as a committee of council. So in a sense, we are acting on behalf of council. So we are council. We are making decision on behalf of council. So it's kind of an overlap. If a city councilor is here discussing with us who they've put in charge of reviewing the application on their behalf, it muddies the water. So the preference is to keep a clear division between your elected council member and us, the appointed committee. Is there any other better explanation from anybody up here from the city than what I just tried to give? No? Okay. So I think I did a pretty good job. So, so your voice. So I guess to alleviate any concerns you have, this is the forum for you, the public, to have reviewed the application from the private landowner and to share with us, whether it's through your counselor or not. You can tell us everything that you would tell them, and we will consider that equally, whether it's coming from you or from your counselor. So we're here to listen to you.
Well, thank you. One of the issues that I'm trying to wrap my mind around is because this lot size is small, about 3 years ago you have approved a single family dwelling bungalow, which is really what all of the houses there are like. The only semi-detached home there now is one, and it was approved with, again, a number of people from the neighborhood voicing their concern over that. And there were over 70 people that signed a petition. And in that petition, the problem is that you're trying to squeeze a property, and it's a semi. There aren't any semis there other than that one. There's nothing like that. And the problem is you're trying to squeeze in a large building on a small lot. And you're making all of these variances to try to accommodate that. And really, if you take a look at, I'm sure if you take a look at that picture again, all the houses in that area are basically bungalows. There's a few 2-stories, but most of them are all bungalows. And then you're squeezing in, and you can see at the bottom of that picture there, there's a pool at the bottom left. That's the one neighbor, but right to the immediate right of it is where that semi-detached building is. Now, the problem there is they had to enlarge the driveway because they were parking on Arthur Street. And if they weren't parking on Arthur Street, they were parking on Croydon and on Nichols Street, which I understand that they've closed off or put signs up saying that you can't park there in the summer because we have the beach there. And there's all kinds of beach parking going on there, which translates to the fact that when you put this building in, there's only enough room to park basically one vehicle.
If I could address, as you bring up these points, I'd like, for my own order of things, be able to address them as they come to mind. So parking. Our purview is this application specifically and how it may or may not dovetail in with the zoning bylaw. So, for example, the minor variances that are being requested aren't with respect to parking. So, and it might be a surprise, but the city has, in their zoning bylaw, they have a ratio of number of parking spots per dwelling unit. And unless
And what is that? Excuse me, what is
well,
that?
we happen to have Madeline here, city planner, who can advise us on that. So I am correct in that we're not here for parking variances.
To the chair, it's Claire Semple,
Oh,
planner
sorry,
with the
Claire.
city,
Right.
filling on behalf of Ms. Furco. The ratio is 1 parking space for the primary dwelling unit per dwelling units, both semis, and then 1 parking space for the ADU, each ADU. So for both lots, it would be a combination of 4 parking spaces required that would have to meet our parking requirements for size, length, and width.
Okay, I understand that. I got that from your traffic department as well, because I called them and talked to a gentleman there, and he explained this very same thing. The problem with that is that when you take a look at where the parking is, if anybody has that what I call the second apartment down below in the basement, if they want to move out and the primary parking spot is filled, you're moving cars. That doesn't work. So that's why they end up parking on the road. And that's my concern, is because if you take a look at that road and the parking on that road right now, there's not enough parking on those.
So that's why
On
we
that
have,
building site.
that's why we have the report from city engineering, parking, parks department. All the various departments are to advise their comment of their specific focus in the report. And if they feel that there's a problem, it would come out in the report. If they're prepared to support the application, that would also come out in their report. So in this case, there is no zoning, in order to focus our review, it's on the zoning bylaws that are not being met. So, and those zoning bylaws are the ones that the variances are speaking to. The severance is its own thing. We're cutting up a piece of land to create the semi-detached. But parking is not a part of what we're looking at this evening. It meets a zoning bylaw requirement.
And who changes that? Who amends that?
The next time that these official plan and zoning bylaw are being reviewed, this planning department will do a study and a presentation to the community. There'll be community open houses, and the community will be invited to come out and say, hey, your parking requirements of 1 vehicle per dwelling unit is not adequate. It should be 1.5 or 2. And then that would be the time when that bylaw is rewritten or reconsidered. But right now, this is the law that this application is being measured against, and parking is not one of the infractions.
Okay, I'll leave the parking issue go, all right? Although it is a concern, but I'll let it go. The question now is, why are you making all of these changes to how far away the building can be from the property line and this and that, when literally what it's looking like is you're squeezing in a large building into a small property?
So that's exactly why this committee exists, is to consider those requests to vary zoning bylaws. This particular situation, as noted by the agent, obviously it's an irregular lot. We don't have a square building and a square lot. We have lot lines which are not parallel to the building. The building is square, but nothing else is square around it. So the deficiencies happen across the length of the building at pinch points, we'll call them, and many of the variances can relate to those pinch points that are being identified. So yeah, you're not wrong. They are trying to fit a regular shaped building onto an irregular shaped lot, and that has caused many of these minor variances to be requested. So you're right, but I'm sorry, committee member David Ringler.
Could I just add to that the variances in particular are only relating to the front yard setback, not relative to the backyard or the side yards. So relative to encroachments on a neighbor, there are none. And as I seem to recall from the report, that the front yard setback would be in keeping with the street as it currently is. Could you confirm that?
Through the chair to the committee member, that's correct.
So that, yes, it's a smaller lot, but the building that's being put on it, for all intents and purposes, from my perspective at least, meets the bylaws.
So we're all reviewing the same information that was provided to the city, and again, this meeting is to come to a consensus. Well, not consensus. We're going to end up voting on it as individual members of the committee. Some may support, some may be in favor. It may fail, it may pass, but it's information that's provided to us from this report and listening to community comments such as yours. But your comments have to be with respect to the same focused review that we have, which is how does this proposal address the zoning bylaw, and where is it not addressing the zoning bylaw? And that is listed in these variances. And as David has pointed out, those variances are mainly with respect to, well, they're listed here, minimum frontage, lot area, and so on. So that is the purview, which parking is not part of that. So you're not wrong. That's the whole reason why the committee is here, is to try and fit buildings appropriately onto lots, in this case, an irregular lot.
And again, when you were looking back 3 years ago, when they were proposing to put in a single-story bungalow on that property, there were some variances that were to be applied to that structure as well. But I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there were any people that were upset about it.
Well, in the 3 years since that happened, the provincial government, as they have mandated to the regional planning and the second-tier planning at the city, we are now, unlike 3 years ago, allowed to include interior accessory dwelling units up to 2, and then you can throw in a detached accessory dwelling unit if it fits, so you have 3 accessory dwelling units in site. So I'm assuming that this, and we'll bring the applicant's agent in on this. I assume that this ability to have more interior accessory dwelling units has caused them to change their mind about what this application should be. Is that true?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
All of it?
I'm sorry.
3 years ago, this was not the same building that you're being applied for now. Now we're looking for, to accommodate a number of interior accessory dwelling units. Is that because that the zoning now allows interior accessory dwelling units, whereas 3 years ago it didn't? So this is why we're looking at,
It could be a part of it. I mean, I wasn't involved in this 3 years ago, but in order to meet intensification targets, the site allows for it.
yeah, that's part of it. That's why.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, yeah, so developers are now allowed to have more basement apartments and in their buildings than they were allowed to 3 years ago. And this project is maximizing what the zoning bylaw now allows, which it didn't allow 3 years ago.
And you mentioned that the Ontario government was, basically, they're giving St. Catharines $27 million to upgrade or to build more affordable homes.
That's separate from this.
I know, but included in that is the idea that that money is designated for infrastructure. And if I talk to a few of the people in that neighborhood already, and in regards to the infrastructure, there's already flooding going on, and why are we putting, or why is the committee looking at putting basically the cart before the horse? Increase the infrastructure, and then you can apply to basically put in a fourplex.
Yeah, so again, we need to focus on the fact that this is a private property owned by a person who is proposing this development here and now with the bylaws and laws that exist here and now. So yes, hopefully there will be stormwater sewer upgrades in the street at some point whenever the city gets around to it. But right now, this property owner wants to develop the property with respect to measuring it against the zoning bylaw. And that's our narrow purview this evening, is to, of these variances, which ones weren't required. There were 2, as I recall, and which ones are we going to consider to be minor and grant in this meeting. So the one thing I did hear we talk about was flooding in the area. As part of our approval of this, if it's approved and it goes for a building permit, at that time they'll have to prove to the building department that any water that is shed from the roof is contained on the property and dealt with on the property to a municipal stormwater management system and not adversely affecting the surrounding neighbors. So there's a process to safeguard the surrounding neighbors that is not part of us considering this application this evening. That's a building permit, if it goes that far.
Okay, I can understand that to some degree, but living there, okay, I do have concerns that, yeah, it's just not.
But unfortunately, there has to be, it can't be a gut instinct or I'm used to having this situation for the last 30 years and now there's going to be a change and I'm not comfortable with it. Because it's not fair to the person who owns the property who wants to do something with it. But the person who owns the property can't do anything with it. They have to work within the zoning bylaw. In this case, staff have identified a couple of areas where they are not meeting the zoning requirements, and that's what we're here reviewing this evening. So ideally, you will sum up the rest of your comments as they relate to any of these variances that you're concerned about, or the severance itself, because we're also, first we're going to vote on the severance. If that goes through, then the variances apply. So I'm trying to focus you a little bit to say that it's not everything that we can talk about.
I understand, and I don't want to take up a lot more of your time, but I am quite opposed to the severance,
Very clear.
and I'm quite more so opposed to the type of building that's going on, being a fourplex, in an area that is essentially all single-family dwellings, other than that one
Well,
semi that was put
let's
on
address,
3 years ago.
that's fair, and so that's addressable. So in 1960, whatever, when this neighborhood was developed, that was the building type that was marketable, and that's what was built then. Fast forward 50, 60 years from then, and now we have the ability for all those people who own those houses to add a second floor, to do other things to intensify their property. So everyone in that street now has these new zoning bylaws that they can invest in their property in ways that they may not have been able to do in previous zoning bylaws. This happens to be a vacant property where there's an opportunity to, that this building is showing, is an example of mostly following the zoning bylaw, but that convenience is afforded everybody on that street. So the street isn't set in time 60 years ago when it was sparsely populated, low density. The whole idea of the zoning bylaw is to increase density and take a low-density zone and allow it to be more dense by having interior accessory dwelling units. So yes, it's going to stand in contrast with respect to that, but the question is, does it meet the intent and purpose of the existing zoning bylaw and official plan? And that's the measure that we're working with, not so much what was there, although the character of the neighborhood is part of our consideration.
I really hope it is. And as far as high-density housing goes, right around the corner on Lakeshore, 239 Lakeshore, I believe it is, you're looking at building a 6-story apartment complex plus, I think, 27 townhomes. That's gone nowhere over the years. They've started and stopped. So that's where the high density is. There's a number of townhomes and apartments on Lakeshore at around that area. That's high density. In a single family home here would really just be a part of what the surrounding areas all has right now. And that proposal, I think, is the way to go. Not with I would call it a fourplex, not what you guys, call it.
Well, I think you made, your point is not lost on me or the committee, although I see one of the committee members has a question.
No, it's not a question, but you may be interested in knowing that there's a proposed bylaw amendment that has been proposed by the planning department currently, just released not that long ago. I believe that there's an open house tomorrow. And one of the issues, just off the top, is parking. And they are in fact recommending that accessory dwelling units only have half a parking spot as opposed to one. And I'm not trying to light a fire, I'm just the proper venue, probably, for a number of your issues is providing input into that process. So I would recommend that you get in touch with the planning staff and get a copy of the bylaw amendment and lean in, much like everybody else should. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you, and thank you for hearing me out.
Yeah, one of the item, we do need your name and address, so.
Okay, the
just for
name is
record.
Harold Witt, W-I-T-T. and I live on 12 Sager, S-A-J-U-R Court.
Got it, thank you. Is there anybody else in the gallery who wishes to speak to this application? Great, thank you. Does the applicant have any, or agent have any more, any further comments?
Through the chair, no, the recommendation by planning report, our efforts for design and shape and size, I believe is homogeneous with the area, and yeah, no further comments.
Any further questions, members of the committee? If not, looking for someone to propose a motion.
This is something that I get used to. All right. Following consideration with all written and oral representation, I move consent application B38/23 and variance applications A128 and 129-23 as presented in notice of hearing be approved, as the consents are desirable and compatible with the surrounding area. Sorry?
Remove number 3.
Sorry, I have to amend that,
Save and
except for
variance number 3.
variance number 3 for A120, 128-23, as they are desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, have no adverse impacts to the surrounding properties, have regard for Section 51 of the Planning Act, confirm with the policies of the city and official plan and zoning bylaw, maintain and the intent of, and the purpose of the provincial policy statement, and do not conflict with any applicable provincial plans. And the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Excellent. Please confirm that, just, in summary, that you have in your motion recommended the conditions for the severance, and of the variances, you have recognized that variance 3 of application 128-23 and variance 5 of the other one are withdrawn. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Is that good enough? Lovely. All those in favor of the motion? Your application's been approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mic's not on. No, you didn't tell me my mic wasn't on. Anything you wish to add?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name's Eric Beauregard. I'm with Upper Canada Consultants, the agent for representing this application, representing the owners for this application. We support staff's recommendation and have no further comments, but am available to answer any questions of the committee.
Thank you. Anybody from the committee have any comments? No? Anybody in the gallery wish to speak to this application? No? I'll go back to the committee for a motion. Thank you, Carrie.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance number A125-23, as presented in the notice of hearing, be approved, as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate, and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, as well as the purpose.
I'll accept that. All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Great, thank you. Congratulations, your application's been approved unanimously. All right. Now we find ourselves at, oh, did I advance myself prematurely? Lockview? Are we at Lockview? 2 Lockview. 2 Lockview. At 2 Lockview Crescent, we have a request to reduce the minimum exterior side yard setback to a garage from 6 meters to 3.05 meters. This was a typographical error. This is to facilitate the construction of the attached garage, a minor variance, and that could have been the clue for the applicant or agent to come up to join us here. Thank you. You were here early. Having fun so far? Good. We aim to please. So this is pretty clear, but this is an opportunity for you to clarify anything in addition to what we think we already know.
Good afternoon. My name is Janet Del Rio. I am with CIC Commercial Interiors, the agent for the homeowner. And no, everything is very clear. It just logically makes sense for the garage to be situated this way.
Great, thank you.
That's it.
Any questions from a member of the committee, like the person with their mic on? Nope. Anybody in the gallery wish to speak to this application? Nope. Back to the committee for a motion. Carrie?
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance A126-23, as presented in the notice of hearing, be approved, as the variance is minor nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and is in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Great, thank you. Your application's been approved unanimously. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We're now at the item number 5 in our agenda, which takes us to 44 Reichert Street. A lot of things going on Reichert Street. However, in this case, the application for severance and the associated minor variances to create a new lot for a proposed single detached dwelling known as 61 Lloyd Street does not have the support of staff as noted in our report. We hope that the agent or owner has had the opportunity to review the report and know that coming to this meeting. And so with that, presumably, you might have a lot to say about it. So thank you. Please share with us your thoughts.
Right. I know we have the PowerPoint. I'm not sure if people want paper or not. I do have extra copies, but I know.
Does anybody from the committee require a printed out version of the PowerPoint?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we're all new school. So, Rosa, please cue the PowerPoint.
All right. Yeah, there. So we're requesting to sever a 227.05 square meter parcel land, Part 2, to be known as 61 Lloyd Street, to establish a new lot for established detached dwelling unit. The 218.37 square meter remnant parcel to remain as 44 Reichert Street will be retained for continued resident use as an existing detached dwelling unit with an accessory interior unit in it. Requested minor variances for Part 1 is the lot size from 300 square meters, which is required, down to 218.37, and the minimum rear yard setback to an existing dwelling from 6 meters, what is required, to 0.52 meters. On that one there, and that's just because it's existing, the house is already there. So on Part 2, to be known as 61 Lloyd, reduced lot area from 227.07 0.05 square meters where 300 is required, and the minimum rear yard setback from 5 meters from 6 meters. Yeah, there was a previous deferral of application. Was hoping to meet with staff to get, to see if we can get a few things worked out. Things did not work out as we had planned, so we're here today. The zoning overview from 44 Reichert Street, the dwelling, the detached dwelling, the lot width, which is required, is 10 meters, lot area 300 to 465 square meters, front yard 3 meters, 6 meters to a garage where there's no garage. Rear yard is 6 meters, exterior side yard is 3 meters or 6 meters to a garage, and then interior side yard 1.2, landscaped area 35%. What we have as existing is 13.52 meters as the lot width, which is a lot larger than what's required, 218, which is smaller obviously, and the front yard is a fair bit larger too, almost triple the size. And in the rear yard of the existing building we're at 0.52, which was formerly a side yard. The exterior side yard is 4.75 meters, interior is 1.2, and the landscaped area is 46.2%, where only 35 is required. Back on that, on the, if you go one back, the 46.2 landscaped area, we're already like a fair bit larger than what's required. This house that is there is about a 600 square foot raised bungalow. It's a 1-bedroom house with an accessory unit in the basement, which is a little bit smaller because there's a furnace room and everything there. So I'm considering this like an apartment, not a house. In an apartment, most people have a balcony for amenity space. So that's why we're not looking, I don't think we need a ton of amenity space, but even according to the zoning, we're still over what's required under the landscaped area. All right, next one, please. For the 61 Lloyd Street, required is the frontage is 10, we're at 14.06, so again, larger lot area, again, 300 to 465, we're a little bit smaller there at the 227. Front yard, we are at what is required. Rear yard, we've asked for a 1 meter reduction from what's required. Exterior side yard, there is none. Interior side yard, it's 1.2 meter, and we're at 1.2 or 3.5. Rear yard, 60 square meters is required in the zoning bylaw, and that's based on a 10-meter width. So that would be minimum 60 square meters by 300 square meter lot area. We're at 70.4, and that's why we asked for the 1 meter reduction. We're still probably 15% or so, 12-15% over than what's required in the zoning bylaw. And the landscaped area, you can see that we're also a fair bit over. They're requiring 35, and we're at 50.8 for the new place. Okay. The existing site context, existing 600 square foot, 1-story single detached dwelling with no garage or carport with an existing basement accessory dwelling unit. Surrounding area comprised of majority residential housing R2 zone with some nearby medium high density residential R3 and mixed use light commercial and industrial zones nearby. Notably several large green spaces near the site, G1. Also on the regarding the main house, it does provide 2 parking spaces. So it does have 1 for the house and also for the accessory unit on the site. Proposed for this site involves severance of the existing lot to create municipal address 61 Lloyd, minor variance to recognize the deficiencies in lot area for the newly created lot and retain lots. Minor variance to recognize created rear yard scenario for existing dwelling at 44 Reichert Street, and a minor variance as a result of a reduced rear yard proposed dwelling at 61 Lloyd. There's the proposed site contact, and you can see there where all the landscaped green space is, part 1 and part 2. And you can see that there's a fair bit, and like I said, it's from what I showed you before, that we're way over of what is required in the zoning bylaw. Compatibility of the proposal. The Garden City official plan defines compatibility as the development or redevelopment of uses which may not necessarily be the same as or similar to the existing development, but can coexist with the surrounding area with adverse impact. The variances for lot area requested in conjunction with the consent application are not out of context of this area. Many existing lots that would be considered to be similarly undersized exist in the surrounding neighborhood, which we'll see shortly. The requests for lot area still do not undermine the use of the lot, still providing adequate landscaping, parking, and area for the proposed existing dwellings. And the neighborhood contact compatibility, 25 Reichert Street, which is on the other side of Reichert, 140 meters from the subject property approximately. It's 310 square meters in lot area. It's a triplex that was built in 2013, includes 3 4-bedroom units, and the approximate landscaped area is 40.4 square meters, or 13% of the lot. And that was done, I was involved with the severance of 27 Reichert, which created 25 Reichert. And that was built in 2013, 25 Reichert, all to, of course, it's a brand new building at that time. It was all done to permit and stuff like that. 27 Reichert Street, beside it there is, it's a fourplex. It was a fourplex at the time. It's 130 meters from the subject property, approximately 309 square meters in lot area. It has 1 3-bedroom unit, 2 2-bedroom units, and 1 1-bedroom unit. Approximate landscape area is 26.9 square meters, or 8.7% of the lot. Another one right beside it at 29 Reichert, 120 meters from the subject property. It's a duplex. The age is unknown, containing 2 2-bedroom units, approximately landscaped area 67.3 and 36.5% of lot. No on-site parking on the property. 26 Lloyd, 280 meters from the subject property down the street, approximately 181.2 square meters in lot area. Single-family home built in 2007 as a 5-bedroom house. Approximately landscaped area 59 square meters, or 32.6% of the lot. 69 Churchill, 180 meters from the subject property, 189 square meters in lot area, so still a fair bit smaller than what ours is. Single-family home, age unknown, containing a 1-bedroom with full basement, similar to what we have on what we're proposing at 44 Reichert, even though our lot size is bigger. Approximate landscaped area is 94.8 square meters, or 49.9% of the lot. No on-site parking on property. Well, that's not correct. There is a garage there. We're not sure on the size of the garage, though.
So just to reiterate,
Yep.
though,
Yep.
the Wild West of planning and what people had done in the past is not what this application is being measured against. It's being measured against the current zoning bylaw.
Correct.
So the point here that you're making with these various comparisons is there are existing properties that are deficient with respect to the zoning bylaw.
Correct. Well, some of these, so like the next one there at 98 Reichert Street, I owned that property, and I'm severed that into 2 lots, which are smaller than what we're proposing right now. And that was done approximately 10 years ago. And that was, and 10 years ago, we needed housing, but we don't need housing like we need today. The Ontario government's hammering at us daily to get more houses, more units to provide, and we're on a small property. We're trying to make affordable housing. So yeah, 98 Reichert Street, there, the last one there, was built, that one was built in 2013 and containing 5 bedrooms also. Approximate area, landscape area, 73.5 square meters, or 36.1 of the lot. Okay. And then 45 Union was the property that was severed off of 98 Reichert. So very similar to this one. 98 Reichert was the corner of Reichert and Union, and then this one came off of it. It's just down the street from Reichert Street. It's approximately 196 square meters in lot area, so still smaller than what we're proposing today on either one at 44 or on Lloyd. Single-family home built in 2000. Okay, that I believe was also supposed to be 2013. I just seen that. That must be a typo there. So it was built at the same time. I sold the property to a builder, and he built both of them.
Excuse me, I'm just going to interrupt one more time.
Yeah, no problem.
My first interruption was to say, we get it. I get it anyway.
Okay.
But you're entitled to your time here. But with respect to the point you're trying to make, what was the irreconcilable difference is that your proposal and planning staff could not resolve from December 6th to now that has you coming back with a proposal that they can't support, that you think that these other examples
Well, they're saying
justify?
what planning staff was saying, that these were done at a different time, right? Which I agree, right? And it was 10 years ago. But I'm also saying that, and the zoning changed, but the one at 25 Reichert Street, 27 Reichert, that was built after the zoning. The zoning was in 2013. It was built in 2013, and that was much smaller, right? So I'm thinking, and then also, like, I know 98 Reichert and 45 Union, which I did myself, and it's smaller. That was done at a different time frame. But like I said, the government wasn't hounding us to create housing back then like they are now. And also regarding, I'm looking at the official plan where the density in the official plan, like if I look at 27 Reichert and 25 Reichert, the amount of units that there are per square foot.
I guess what I'm interested in, though, if you could comment on, is the city states that no clear revisions that were agreeable to both parties were able to be identified from what you had proposed prior to December 6th to now. And I'm just like, what did you feel, what hardship did you feel that you were unable to accommodate that the city was proposing by way of a revision?
Well, this is what we were proposing, and with the existing dwelling, I can't do anything about it. It's there. I can't do anything about it. Regarding the next one, they didn't have a problem, and even in their notes, they didn't have a problem with the minor variance on the rear yard, but it looks like they have a problem with the minor variance for the lot area. And they're saying that it's not compatible in the neighborhood, that it didn't meet all the lots in the neighborhood, but I'm showing you probably 12 or 13 here that
Yep.
are in the neighborhood.
That's all we want to see, though. I'm just suggesting if we could move, I wanted to just get to the point, and that to me zeroes in on the point. Everything that you're going to show us shows that there are the house, the dwelling area to landscape area is a proportion worse than what you're proposing here, and that this is the evidence that you're bringing forth to.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes. Yep.
So
okay.
if that's your point, we get it with the examples that you've gone through.
Okay. All right. And we can.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and we can skip them. Like, I know there's more. I don't have a problem going through it.
I'm trying to.
I don't want to be here till midnight
trying to
tonight.
dissuade you from going further, but I would, if we can, but if we could put a pause here, I'd like to ask planning staff, Shraddha, if you could explain the city's position with respect to this, because generally speaking, even having read the staff report, it just seems like, I don't know, I'm kind of sympathetic to the points that are being made by the applicant. So if you could just drive home city planning staff's objection clearly, that'd be great. Thank you.
Through your chair to the committee. We have gone through the proposal and the examples what the applicant has sent us. The lot area reduction is not minor in nature. We have calculated the density over the lot area in each of the lots. The current OP designates the lot as low density residential, but the density what the applicant has proposed falls under the medium density residential. That is 45 units per hectare and 47 units per hectare in each of the lots. We are not opposing the whole proposal, but we said him that you need to revise the proposal and you have to go through a proper process, which is OPA and ZBA, because he would be requiring an official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment for this particular proposal. Also, with the examples he had sent, I went through all of them. Those examples are for different situations in different context and also with the earlier bylaw. Some of them are existing lots which have been existing for many years, and different situations which do not fall under this category and do not, cannot be a precedent to this particular proposal. In context with the minor variances, he had requested with the existing Part 1, with the existing dwelling, as he's proposing the consent, the yards changes, and so the side yard, which was the current side yard, is now the rear yard, and the rear yard, which was earlier, is now the side yard. So that's why they do not have a proper amenity space for the Part 1. For Part 2, they do have a proper, it's only 1 meter reduction, but the whole consent would be not appropriate, as the Part 1 doesn't have proper amenity space. So it will be a difficult task. Yeah, thank you.
So the sum total of accommodations, the city's planning staff says this is an OPA, ZBA kind of matter too.
Yes, it would require a proper process to go under official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment. But again, to our analysis, the rear yard setback for the existing dwelling unit would not be supported by us because it is not a proper amenity space. Even the exterior side yard does not have, because it is a corner lot, so it does not have enough space to accommodate the amenity space in the side yard as well.
Thank you. If could I just see if any of the committee members have any questions at this point, given the file that they came prepared to review when they came here, the comments, the highlights that the applicant has made, and the clarification that the city's made. Any questions, comments?
I guess
David?
a question of clarification. I think what I heard is that the real problem is with the retained lot, not with the severed lot.
Yes, so if he's retaining the existing building and going just for the minor variance, it will be, they don't have proper amenity space with the severance.
Any other questions, clarifications from the committee members? We'll go back to the applicant for any closing remarks.
Regarding just the comment, the amenity space for the existing, like I said, it's a 600 square foot bungalow, which is probably smaller than a lot of apartments nowadays. It's 1 bedroom. There's 1 person living there on the main floor, and it's 1 bedroom downstairs, which is even smaller than the 600 square feet because there's a furnace room that takes up some of the area. Like I said, right across the street, there's apartments, and I've sold a few in there. There's 1 bedrooms, I believe, some 2 bedrooms in there. They have a balcony for their amenity space. They all have parks in the area for them to go to, but also for this property would also, the same thing, would have room to go to all the parks that I've shown on this presentation. If we can go to, I think the next slide that we were going to work on was 54 Pelham Road. And I think it's that one there too, yep. Nope, the one before was, yep, that one there, 54 Pelham Road. That's on the corner of Pelham and Reichert. Very similar, I find, to what this is. The amenity space, it was, their lot size is 198.8 square meters, so it's a little bit smaller than ours. Single-family home, approximate landscaped area is 33.4% of lot, and there is no on-site parking, except for when they went for their severance. I found out today they got a reduction for a parking area size that did allow it. So they were allowed to get a parking spot somehow in there, because that garage that is there, you see right behind that, goes actually with the house that was severed, and then they built a new house and kept the old garage for that one. I have the severance application for that one. We're planning states on that one. Subject property zoned second density, which ours is. And then also they go on to regarding Staff is satisfied that the subject consent is desirable for the appropriate use of the land and that the intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw are being maintained. And that's for that one there. And that, so I look at that and I'm thinking, well, if that one is smaller than ours and the official plan and zoning bylaw are being maintained there, I'm not sure why they're not being maintained on this property that we're providing. And then 134 Pelham Road down the street, that was built in 1998. And that's even a smaller unit, again, the property 177.9 square meters. So the property, I believe that we're, and like I said, I just have to reemphasize that we're a one-bedroom house. If the house were to get knocked down eventually, then it would probably get centered more onto the lot and it would be a bigger house. But right now it's where it's an existing, but it's a one-bedroom house. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public in the gallery this evening to speak to this application? Seeing none. I'll take it back to the committee members. Any further discussion through with the applicant or through the available city planning staff? Because the next thing will be we're looking for a motion. And but we can discuss it. No, we can put the motion on the table, discuss it among ourselves. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm a little sympathetic. I'm leaning more toward the efforts that the applicant is trying to make with this application than seeing a significant rejection of existing zoning bylaws to the point that they're not minor in nature, but just my opinion. Jamal?
I just have a question to the planning staff. So if he, as a collective application, he has to go through the OPA and ZBA collectively, right?
Yes, through the chair. Because he is going over the density required in official plan, so he would have to apply for official plan amendment and eventually the zoning bylaw amendment as well.
Thank you.
Moving right along, looking for a motion, I guess, at this point, from members of the committee.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that consent application B 3623 SC and variance applications A 119 and 12023 as presented in the notice of hearing be denied, as the consents are not desirable or compatible with the surrounding area, have adverse impacts on the surrounding properties, do not have regard for Section 5124 of the Planning Act, do not conform with the policies of the city's official plan and zoning bylaw, nor maintain the intent and purpose of the provincial policy statement, and conflict with any, and may or may not conflict with any applicable provincial plans. And the variances are not minor in nature, nor appropriate or desirable for the use of the land, nor in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Next time, I'm going to ask you to move a little closer to the mic, but I heard you. So the motion was read in support of the technical report for denial of the severance and the minor variances. Is there any discussion among the committee members at this point? If not, all those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Well, we're at a tie. See, I wasn't supposed to vote, but.
No, you vote.
Oh, yeah.
What happens is, in a tie situation, the procedural bylaw notes it as a loss, so it would be denied.
All right, application denied. My mic's not on, you can hear me anyway. It's a small room, thank you. So yeah, we're here for 193 Vine Street. Is the applicant or agent has assumed the position. Please share with us anything you wish to add.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and committee. I am Matt DeLuca, applicant, requesting a boundary adjustment or consent. The minor variance is moot, and I think we can ignore that. I just had one question for Charlotte. If you had spoken to Margaret on the cost issue of the minor variance now that it's moot.
Through the chair, what was the question that you'd like to ask?
When further to our conversation today, did you have a chance to seek instruction from staff as to the refund of the cost of the minor variance?
Staff have discussed, we understand that you'd like to, I think you still have to make the request formally, so.
She's making a request to us.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a quick background. When we originally applied for the consented minor variance, the idea was to request the dwelling on 195 Street remain, not in perpetuity, but until the development proceeded on the entire parcel. Staff was not in support of my idea to register a development or sunset agreement such that development or demolition of the remnant parcel would be required prior to subsequent development. To that end, they inserted or they requested a condition of the consent be demolition of the remnant parcel, which I agreed to. During those discussions and insertion of that condition, it rendered the minor variance moot. There's no need to have a variance of the maximum lot area if there's no dwelling on that land. So I'm requesting the committee consider a refund of those fees for the application for the minor variance, or a partial refund of fees for that minor variance. And I had sought staff's opinion on that as well, because I assume that you guys want to hear their opinion as well as mine.
Well, the only opinion that I will ask of staff is, the review of the application. There had to have been a review of the application to arrive at some of these conclusions based on the intent. So in terms of staff resources to get to that point, was that sort of entail a typical full review and discussion in order to determine that there was not, in fact, a variance required?
To the chair, the discussions have been lengthy even prior to this application. Staff are not opposed to the applicant's request for a refund. There have been ongoing conversations, and that is the position at this time.
Okay, well, let's, I guess if the consent is denied from the committee, then the minor variance is of no point anyway. So do we want to talk about that, or Carrie, did you separate them? Yeah. So we'll talk about the consent application with the staff recommendation for the 10 conditions. Is the applicant agent agreeable to the 10 conditions?
Yes, I have no issue with the conditions imposed on the boundary adjustment or consent.
Alrighty. Well, how about we put a motion on the table regarding the consent request or consent application and see how that does. And of course, I would not want to deny anybody in the audience, in the gallery, who would like to speak to this application, should there be anybody of the 5 of you there. And there is not. Thank you so much.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that consent application B1623 be approved as presented in a notice of hearing, subject to the 10 conditions as contained in the technical report, as they are desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, have no adverse impacts on the surrounding properties, have regard for Section 5124 of the Planning Act, conform with the policies of the city's official plan and zoning bylaw, maintain the intent and purpose of the provincial policy statement, and finally, do not conflict with any applicable provincial plans.
All those in favor of the motion to support severance with the stated conditions, show, oh, we're already there. Congratulations, that part has been approved unanimously.
Further, I move that the minor variance fees applicable to A 5923 be reimbursed.
All those in favor with the reimbursement of the minor variance fees, show of hands. Those opposed? So your fees are being reimbursed, 3 in favor, 1 against. Yeah, you're only getting 3/4. That's pretty good.
Appreciate it, thanks.
Do we have to have a motion to withdraw the variance application?
Why, yes, we do, David.
So moved.
So moved, done. It's been withdrawn. But you know, okay. David Ringler made a motion to withdraw the application. All those in favor, unanimously passed. 35 Yale Crescent. And then there were 4. So this is to facilitate the construction of a 5,310.7 square meter addition, including 14 loading docks and a new paved drive aisle along the north side of the existing industrial warehouse. That sounds exciting. And there are 2 minor variances with respect to this as they relate to a minimum front yard setback and a minimum number of required parking spaces. Is there anything that the applicant or agent wishes to add to our knowledge of this application?
Respected Chair and Committee and City, I'm James Samuel with the JP Samuel and Associates, representing my client, the owner of the property. And the 2 variances, and I read the report, and it seems that the city is saying it's minor variance, and we are okay with the conditions what you have said there.
You should be. Thank you. Any questions, comments, clarifications required by the committee? Anybody in the gallery wish to speak to this application? Back to the committee for a motion.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move the variance application A 132-23, as presented in notice of hearing, be approved, as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of land, and are in keeping with the general intent of and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Your application's been approved unanimously. Thanks so much. 25 Buchanan Road, minor variance application to facilitate the construction of an interior accessory dwelling unit, very popular, in the basement of the existing detached dwelling. In support of this application, there are, for consideration, 3 minor variances. The usual overall square footage, percentage relative to the principal, and parking spaces. Staff report recommends denial of variances 1 and 2 and approval of variance number 3, which is the parking thing. Would the applicant or agent care to indulge us with any more information?
Yes. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, committee members. Thank you for your time this evening to discuss this proposed accessory dwelling unit. Sorry. So 25 Buchanan is located in a very quiet neighborhood here in St. Catharines with low traffic, little to no cars parked along the street. And to align with this low-density, quiet neighborhood, we have proposed a single ADU in the basement of the existing approximately 1,000 square foot single level bungalow. There was a question of parking. Because you can see the first spot closest to the house, it is slightly overlapping onto that house. It requires a larger spot. So we actually are not able technically from the bylaw to fit 2 spots, only 1. So that's item number 3. And then item numbers 1 and 2, which staff have assessed as being non-minor in their proposal, is the overall size of the ADU. So we're proposing approximately 96 meters squared of the main floor area, 109.5 meters squared. So we're slightly smaller than the main floor area. In our opinion, it is the best use for the property. Since it is a fairly quiet neighborhood, we didn't want to pursue any alternative solutions, one of them being actually adding a second unit down there, which would be 2 units smaller than 45 meters squared, which is not necessarily prime residential units that we would be striving for in this neighborhood, along with the parking issues. Increasing to 3 units would run into the same issue of having 1, so the calculations for the parking would actually get worse to go that route. And so the homeowners have decided to try our proposal here to keep it with the single unit, even though it is slightly outside the 60 meters squared maximum. For the existing building, there's no real way without causing considerable structural changes to the existing to have the ADU be smaller or to add an additional ADU to the basement. And so from our considerations and discussions with staff, this seemed to be the best approach for the property. So with that, I thank you for your time and your consideration. And if you guys have any questions for me, please answer.
So clearly, so as demonstrated by the drawings, there is no exterior modification to the building. It just happens to be the top half is going to be a unit and the bottom half is going to be a unit. And in order to comply with the zoning bylaw, you would have to arbitrarily cordon off some of the bottom basement apartment and call it part of the upstairs bit in order to get, just as an exercise, to get the floor areas to work out. No additions. Right on. Thank you. Any questions from the committee of members? Nope. Anybody in the gallery wish to speak to this application? This is your last chance. Okay.
I believe in the bylaw amendment that there's potential to move this from 60 square meters to 80 square meters. Am I correct?
I've seen that somewhere. Would Claire like to confirm?
Thank you, Chair. The housekeeping amendment, which the open house is tomorrow for all members of the public who wish to attend, does contemplate changing the size requirements, but it also does contemplate changing the percentages. However, that cannot factor into staff's decision or analysis of the subject application, but must be evaluated against the intent of the current bylaw and purpose of the current bylaw.
Oh, that's a good answer. Yes, Carrie.
That is what's being contemplated, but once again, that is not in any way put into law. It is only what is being contemplated by the housekeeping amendment.
So today, the point is today we're viewing it against the current bylaw, not what may or may not happen. That's your point, correct? Yeah, no, but that's the point that's being made, and that's the clarification I wanted to make. Carrie?
I just wanted him to feel good about not doing it. It looks to me, based on the site visit, that there are areas to the left and the right of the driveway that have been stoned at some point. And what I mean by that is the stone has been laid down, and it appears to be that it's some form of parking that's allowed on the street. There's no parking. Would that be your assessment?
Pardon me, through the chair to the committee member, are you asking if on-street parking is available?
Correct.
This application does not contemplate if on-street parking is available. I do not have the answer to that question. More so, we evaluated the parking reduction against the tests in the official plan.
That really is a good response. So Carrie, you satisfied with your questions?
I am.
The answers to your questions? Thank you. And the point that the applicant was making, with respect to, obviously, the zoning bylaw is rigid with respect to specific dimensions, but they are trying to demonstrate that while the rigid definition of a parking stall is not met here due to the 1.5 meter overlap of the corner of the building, the practical application, and so therefore the minor variance, not saying it's not required, but the practical application of the site is that 2 cars most likely will be accommodated on the site, and street parking is therefore not necessarily an issue. So at this point, if there's no further questions or comments, then we'll put a motion before the committee for a vote. Now, please.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentation, I move that variance application A6523 as presented in the notice of hearing be approved, as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Congratulations, your application has been approved unanimously. Thank you. This brings us to the final application before us this evening at 1387 4th Avenue. This application is a minor variance application to permit the location of an existing electrical transformer and associated vent rack, which are located alongside the site's southern property line. The minor variance is minimum landscape buffer abutting public road for a parking area with 5 to 20 parking spaces along the western property line. Required is 3, proposed is 1. Probably, yeah. So and the staff has recommended approval subject to the following 2 items that are in their report. Please share with us anything you wish to add to your application.
Good evening, Chair and committee. Thank you for having us. Yeah, overall, we agree with the technical report of the recommendations from planning staff, and I have nothing further to say, unless there's other questions from committee and the chair themselves. And this is the owner, Mr. Dea, of the property.
Hi, good evening, Chair, and good evening, committee members. Just wanted to express my sincere thanks to city staff for investing the time that they did with us throughout this process. We started working through this build in early 2019, and of course, worked through the pandemic, which we often sometimes forget, and I would suggest that this was just an oversight with respect to the installation of the transformer. Had we known it needed to be on plan, we would have had it on plan. Electra, the utility, actually recommended we put the transformer where it is situated, and we are now coming forward with this minor variance request and hoping that committee will approve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any question? Any member of the public have any comments regarding this? Great. Any members of the committee, any committee members have any questions or comments, clarifications? Excellent. Who's going to stick handle this through a motion? Sorry, Carrie, we're ahead of you.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A12423 as presented in notice of hearing be approved, as the variance is minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and is in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Show of hands. Oh, shoot. Yeah, okay. All those in favor of the motion, subject to the conditions, show of hands. Great, thank you. Your application's been approved.
Thank you, committee. Thank you very much.
That concludes our roster of, I'm right, of applications to be heard this evening. Is there any new business? I don't see anything listed, anything to be brought forward. Thank you to Secretary Treasurer and staff for accommodating a return back to council chambers, both technical and physical accommodations. I think that generally speaking, everything went well. So here we are, the new reality. The day of the next hearing is February 21st, 2024. Is there a motion to adjourn? David? Well, you might as well ask a comment before you have the motion to adjourn.
Okay, that was just for today, our first internal, yeah.
Great, thank you. Meeting adjourned.